war in Iran is a very stupid war for a number of reasons. I mean, where do I even begin? First and foremost, they were not a threat to the United States or Israel. They weren't a nuclear threat. Even the American government itself, agencies like the CIA have come to this conclusion. They simply were not a threat. And so why did we go to war with them again? But even if we were going to buy all of the narratives that are coming out of the current administration and agree that all of the objectives that were listed that were to be accomplished by going to war with Iran, even if we agreed with all of them, what has become abundantly clear is that we had no real plan of executing it. Like we really didn't know how we were going to accomplish any of the things, right? Regime change. I mean, of course, a nuclear threat that wasn't real to begin with. How are we going to destroy literally all of their missile making and firing capabilities without putting boots on the ground? So many things, right? We had no contingency plan for Iran shutting down the Strait of Hormuz. There's just so many examples that reveal to us that this was a bad idea. It was a stupid war, a senseless war, a pointless war. Let's also not forget that Trump campaigned on no new wars, right? The president of peace. Well, here we are. So we are going to explore this topic a bit deeper with the assistance of this video right here. A very stupid war coming to us by GDF. Let's check this out, man, and really, really see just how dumb this war is.
Prices are way down. We just had 4 states. It was just reported that 4 states had $1.99 a gallon.
Well, Trump should have had ample warning that toppling the Iranian government was not going to happen.
Right.
On March 7th, the Washington Post revealed that a classified report by the National Intelligence Council found that even a large-scale assault on Iran launched by the United States would be unlikely to oust the Islamic Republic's entrenched military and clerical establishment.
Wow.
The report was completed about a week before the United States and Israel initiated the war.
So what you're telling me is that an American intelligence agency went to the president and said, look, this isn't going to work. And then Trump was like, let's fucking do it anyway. That's what you're telling me. Okay.
Intelligence concluded that Iran's clerical and military establishment would respond to the killing of Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei by following protocols designed to preserve continuity of power.
Right.
Further, the prospect of Iran's fragmented opposition taking control of the country was described as, quote, unlikely. The source of the report, the National Intelligence Council, is composed of veteran analysts who produce classified assessments meant to represent the collective wisdom of Washington's 18 intelligence agencies.
So it's not even just like the CIA. It's not just the FBI. It's all of them. Literally, all of our best minds came together, analyzed the situation, and was like, this isn't going to work. Then put that in a nice little package for the president to be able to digest and understand. So we know they made it very simple, very straightforward, right? This is not a man who can sit down and read pages and pages of documents. And they were like, hey, this isn't going to work. He was like, fuck it. Launch the missiles.
One would think that if Congress had any integrity at all, they'd launch investigations. Given there was ample evidence that a war to topple the regime would be fruitless,
right,
everything that preceded and followed the war, especially the scores of deaths, should be scrutinized.
Yeah,
especially if, say, the government lied about Iran's nuclear program, or the imminent threat from Iran against the United States. Something else that should be scrutinized is whether the war was launched in the interest of a foreign country.
They were going to attack all of the Middle East and Israel. And if they had a nuclear weapon, they would have used it on Israel.
This press gaggle on Air Force One from March 7th is enlightening.
Don't forget October 7th. Don't forget all of the things that have happened over the years, all caused by these people. So,
Absent a teleprompter, Trump can't string together more than one reason to justify bombing Iran other than October 7th.
Right.
they are among the most evil people ever on earth. They cut babies' heads off. They chop women in half. What they did, take a look at October 7th.
And we bomb elementary schools. Right. Right.
Take a look at what they've done over the last 47 years.
Complete with references to beheaded babies, Trump has become nothing more than a melodramatic Israeli diplomat.
Yeah.
Rather than reaching and outright lying about Iran's role in IEDs in Iraq and the USS Cole bombing, Trump references an attack on Israel and not the United States. He doesn't even seem to try to assure these reporters that the war in Iran is anything but a war for Israel. I also couldn't help but notice that during the course of the briefing, Trump referenced his gut with regard to his policy decisions.
Look, here's the thing. We are allies with Israel. However, there is something very wrong when you are throwing the first punch for another nation. Right? It'd be one thing if Iran started bombing Israel, and then as allies with Israel, we sent a few bombs back their way. Now, I am no fan of the Israeli government, but at least that would make sense. We were the aggressors in this situation. So, if there was no threat to the American people, if there was no threat to the American government, if American intelligence agencies came to the conclusion that if we were to do these things, the outcome would not be good, why did he do this? And he did it without the involvement, advice, counsel, or consent of Congress, which it is Congress that determines whether or not we go to war in the first place. And so, yes, our government is corrupt from top to bottom. You can't just look at Trump. You can't just look at his cabinet. The entire vessel, the entire institution of the House and the Senate is rotten on both sides. Because, I mean, what the fuck is going on? This is not how the government is supposed to operate.
We'll start at the appropriate time, which is basically a gut instinct. We will start filling up the strategic reserves.
I looked into this some more and found that back in 2018, he gave an interview to the Washington Post where he said, "My gut tells me more sometimes than anybody else's brain can ever tell me." Indeed, Trump has vaunted his gut instinct for decades. In his 1987 book, The Art of the Deal, he suggests, listen to your gut, no matter how good something sounds on paper. Indeed, go with your gut appears in Career Advice from the Donald, from his 2004 book, How to Get Rich.
Right.
Another way to put that would be, he acts on impulse, and now that he's president, the world at large is at the mercy of that. Evidently, it is a terrible way to conduct foreign policy.
Yeah.
The Financial Times, in reporting on Netanyahu's 7th visit to Washington since Trump's second term began,
Jeez,
wrote,
man.
pressure from Netanyahu could also mark an inflection point.
Why? Why is he here so often? Are our other allies here just as often? I don't believe so. What is America gaining from Israel? As far as I can see, this is a one-way relationship. What's going on here?
For a U.S. president whom analysts say is prone to gut-level policy shifts based on his most recent conversations. They quoted Colin Dweck, a senior fellow at the American Enterprise Institute. He's erratic. He's one of these leaders who listens to the last person who talks to him. It has to be said that Trump is also extraordinarily vain, and any stroking of his ego makes him highly vulnerable to manipulation. Netanyahu appears to have
Like a child, really.
sold Trump on joining an attack on Iran this way. The Wall Street Journal just recently published a story about this process. As opposed to Netanyahu's longtime public diplomacy before TV cameras broadcasting to the American public,
you have to dismantle the entire terror empire, and especially before its main practitioners, the terror states of Iran and Iraq, acquire nuclear weapons. And this, I think, has been a wake-up call from hell.
This is the greatest terrorist regime in the world, and we don't want him to have the ultimate weapon of terror, which is nuclear weapons.
now he has taken an unusual backseat role in driving the public rhetoric in the U.S. Netanyahu has emphasized Trump's central role in the war and credited the president with key decisions, portraying him as the driving force behind the effort against Iran. In
Right.
television interviews and public
We all know who's really pulling the puppet strings here. I mean, he understands. He understands that everybody, people on the right, people on the left, they are coming to the same conclusion that Israel seems to have far too much influence on American policy. Let's put it like that, right? I mean, there obviously was no reason for America to do what it did in Iran. There simply just wasn't a reason. And so it's obvious that they have too much control over the decisions that the American government is making. And so he knows that people are really tired of seeing his fucking face and hearing about this fucking country. And so he's taking a back seat. And I don't know if the president is actively participating in this strategy of trying to keep the heat off of Bibi and off of Israel, or if his ego is just so large and he's so easily manipulated. It's like he doesn't want it to be like, for his own ego, for his own narcissism. It doesn't want it to be said that he went to war because of somebody else. He was like, no, I went to war because of me. You know what I'm saying? I really wonder if that's what's going on, and Bibi's just allowing that to, you know what I'm saying, do work for him.
statements, Netanyahu has stressed that Trump acts in America's interests and makes his own decisions.
Of
That
course.
approach is playing to Trump's instincts. Quote, he has figured out how to persuade and partner with and flatter Trump in ways that have been extremely effective in advancing his goals, said Daniel Shapiro, a former Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for the Middle East.
Wow.
The Israeli defense minister gave an interview to Channel 12 shortly after the U.S.-Israeli attack on Iran, where he spoke about the planning for the operation. He reveals that the goal for the elimination of the Khamenei regime was hatched, not surprisingly, by Netanyahu.
We were already in November when we sat with the Prime Minister in a very small forum, and the Prime Minister set a goal to eliminate the Khamenei regime in November.
Wow.
And in consultation with the IDF and the Mossad.
As Mark Mazzetti of the New York Times concluded in a video news analysis,
I think the story of the last couple of months is just how much Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu of Israel was behind President Trump's decision to go to war in Iran.
Trump's thinking is all the more bewildering when considering that, prior to the war in Iran, he was facing mounting pressure over affordability. Despite being publicly dismissive on the issue,
It was a con job. Affordability, they call it, was a con job by the Democrats.
Trump put forward a number of policy proposals that were obvious attempts to address affordability woes. After all, just under half of Republicans polled by Pew Research were happy with the state of the economy, from a survey published in early October. In early November, Democrats had won gubernatorial elections in New Jersey and Virginia by comfortable margins,
Yeah.
raising the alarm for Republicans ahead of the midterms. And so Trump floated $2,000 checks paid for by tariffs, 50-year mortgages, lowering tariffs on produce.
50-year mortgages. I mean, truly, they just keep trying to find more ways to turn you into a slave.
He also mulled a 10% cap on credit
You're going to be dead before you pay off your mortgage if you buy your house at the average age of the average, the age of the average home buyer now, which I think is something like 40 or it's something insane, man.
card interest rate.
40 or 50 or something crazy like that. And now you got a 50-year mortgage. Okay, so I guess that's just your children are going to be forced to take that over.
For a year. In a December speech on the economy, Trump sought to defend his administration against charges of an affordability crisis.
They have a new word. They always have a hoax. The new word is affordability.
In a moment that has
Right.
aged poorly,
The affordability hoax.
Trump mentions the low cost of oil. More than that, he asserts that low energy prices are paramount and lead to other costs falling as well.
Our oil prices are coming down very substantially, energy prices. And honestly, with that, everything comes down because there's nothing nearly in the category of oil. That's why you're seeing oil per barrel coming down nicely, very nicely. But when energy comes down, your other prices come down too, all of your prices.
About the war.
I mean, just look at this guy in the background just nodding along. Yeah, that's exactly what happens when the price of oil comes down. Yeah, look at this.
That's why you're seeing oil per barrel coming down nicely, very nicely. But when energy comes down, your other prices come down too, all of your prices.
I do not believe that this was Trump's decision at all to go to war with Iran. At all. Why I believe that? A number of reasons. Well, yes, this man is clearly insane. However, I just can't believe that if all of these intelligence agencies came to the conclusion that these objectives that you would hope to accomplish by going to war with Iran, it's very unlikely you're going to be able to accomplish them. I'm sure that's not what they told him when they gave him their analysis of capturing Maduro from Venezuela. They probably told him that, hey, we have actually a pretty good chance of being able to get this guy and take this guy out. And so he already had that. Even the crazy people that he's talking to in his cabinet would have told him, yeah, this doesn't seem strategically like a good move. But also, he was just saying, look at the price of oil. He had to know for a fact that the price of oil was going to skyrocket as a result of this. And so this is all he had. This is all he had, man, to continue to sell to his base that he was actually doing something positive for the economy and that he was accomplishing that primarily through energy prices. Why would he then immediately, less than a few months later, why would he then immediately shoot himself in the leg? Doesn't make sense at all. He's compromised and he is being used by a foreign government, is what it would seem like.
About the worst thing he could have done for affordability, it turns out, is start a new war in the Middle East.
Right.
Additionally, his dismissive response to the ensuing rise in costs for gas, one would think, is
and
not...
then he wore a fucking baseball cap, right, to this ceremony honoring the fallen soldiers who died unnecessarily in a war he started for seemingly no reason. Do you know how disrespectful this is that he still has on his fucking baseball cap? It's insane.
Not doing him any favors. In an interview with Reuters, he comes across as callous. I don't have any concern about it, he said, when asked about the higher prices at the pump. They'll drop very rapidly when this is over. And if they rise, they rise. But this is far more important than having gasoline prices go up a little bit.
We figured oil prices would go up, which they will. They'll also come down. They'll come down very fast, and we will have gotten rid of a major cancer on the face of the earth. We will have taken out a cancer. Don't forget October 7th. Don't forget all of the things that have happened over the years, all caused by these people. So
many in Trump's inner circle are scrambling to find ways to contain the fallout. An energy industry executive told Politico that the White House is looking under every rock for ideas on improving energy prices, especially gasoline prices. Energy Secretary Chris Wright and other advisors focused on energy policy are getting screamed at to find some good news on bringing down prices, the executive said. The fact that diesel has increased even faster than petrol, even if you don't have a diesel engine, can hamper shipping. As CNN put it, nearly every item in your home was on a truck at some point, which mostly runs on diesel.
Yeah.
Farmers may be some of the worst affected, as farmers depend on...
Oh, not the farmers! Well, first and foremost, we know the farmers, they voted for this for the most part. But secondly, they were already getting fucked by Trump and his tariffs. They were already getting reamed, bro, from behind by his tariffs. A perfect example of that is the soybean industry in America. America grew soybeans almost exclusively for China, and then because of the tariffs that were imposed by Trump on China, China essentially said, fuck it, we're not going to buy any from you. And so you had a lot of farmers, and this didn't only happen with soybean. All the farmers really got fucked in a lot of ways. Most of them got fucked in a lot of ways by the tariffs. And yeah, they were already begging for handouts, begging for government assistance because they were going to lose their farms. And the suicide rate amongst farmers is actually alarmingly high, especially when they're put in financial situations like this. And so, you know, it was already bad, and now the price of the fuel for their vehicles is now about to skyrocket when they were already hurting financially. So yeah, he already fucked the farmers, and now he's fucking them again. Beautiful.
Diesel to power their tractors and combines, as well as deliver the fertilizer they need to grow crops and get their product
there's
to
that
market.
as well.
The
Yes,
blockage
because a lot of fertilizer comes out of the Middle East, and the Strait of Hormuz is where they have to get shipped through, and it's locked down by Iran. So there's that as well. Good Lord.
of the Strait of Hormuz is also sending jet fuel prices soaring,
Right.
the Washington Post. This affects not only commercial travel, but also air freight, as certain products generally travel by air,
Yeah.
including computer chips, electronics, aerospace components, medical goods. Moving on from
Bro,
the...
I swear to God, if Amazon Prime, I already paid for Amazon Prime, okay? Bezos, I know you're technically not the CEO anymore, but yeah, I already paid for my Amazon Prime. You better not fucking take away my 2-day shipping, bitch.
the economic cost
You
to
were at his fucking inauguration, bitch. I better get my fucking packages in 48 hours or less. I don't care. You voted for this. You supported this.
the United States, a grave concern especially now for the White House. There is also the enormous cost to American military readiness and weapon stockpiles. On March 7th, the Wall Street Journal warned, soldiers are burning through air defense interceptors to fend off Iranian missile and drone attacks.
Right.
U.S. Navy destroyers have fired volleys of Tomahawk missiles. They spoke to Tom Carrico, a senior fellow at the Center for Strategic and International Studies. He said it has been a recurring pattern that Central Command uses the long-range missiles that Indo-Pacific Command is going to need on a bad day.
Yeah.
Reviewing their military capabilities, China is a formidable rival. With one of the world's biggest missile arsenals, a large naval fleet, and unrivaled manufacturing might.
Right.
It aims to absorb Taiwan and
Yeah.
hasn't ruled out the use of force to do so. A contingency America's military and defense industrial base are struggling to prepare for.
Right.
If Beijing...
Yeah, if China was like, hey, we're going to take all of our manufacturing capabilities and use it to make military shit, bro, we would be fucked in terms of competing arsenals. I mean, they can outwork us, bro. They can outproduce us in terms of development.
ordered an invasion and America decided to fight, U.S. troops would need mountains of munitions to strike Chinese ships crossing the Taiwan Strait and shoot down Chinese barrages. They additionally quote Michael Horowitz, who served as U.S. Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense in the Biden administration, who judged China's capabilities are, quote, an order of magnitude more challenging than Iran's.
Wow.
Think everything Iran has at the lower end, plus a huge quantity of higher-end weapons as well, that would require even more substantial air defenses to defeat.
Great.
Showing how costly fighting Israel's wars is to the U.S., during the 12-day war with Iran last year, it moved 2 THAAD air defense systems to Israel and fired more than 150 missiles to shoot down Iranian ballistic missiles, nearly a quarter of the interceptors ever purchased by the Pentagon. Now the Pentagon is scrambling to reload. In January, it signed deals with Lockheed Martin to dramatically expand annual production capacity for interceptors. The increase is expected to happen over 7 years.
Nice.
In conclusion, for years, the U.S. has said it would shift its attention to Asia, but has remained bogged down elsewhere.
Right.
Patriot missiles are also vital for another theater in which the U.S. has committed enormous amounts of resources. A separate journal article reads, Russia is one of the biggest winners in the early days of the largest U.S. military confrontation in decades, as Iranian missiles deplete stocks of Patriot interceptors that Ukraine needs for its defense.
Right.
For us, this is a matter of life, Ukrainian President Zelensky said of the
Yeah, we completely fucked Ukraine with this as well. Yeah, beautiful.
interceptors. What should be alarming to American officials, U.S. and NATO adversaries, including China, Russia, and Iran, are closely tracking interceptor expenditures, according to intelligence and defense officials. Their military doctrines increasingly emphasize mass production of cheap drones and ballistic missiles designed to overwhelm Western stockpiles.
Man.
In other words, America's adversaries are aware that Western defense contractors produce too few interceptors too slowly and have redesigned their strategies to reflect that.
Yeah.
Another way that Russia benefits, making Russian oil and gas indispensable for the Western economies would...
And really, the reason why this is set up the way that it is because it's one big scam, bro. The defense industry in America is just a bunch of billionaires passing around your tax dollars to each other. And so everything's hyperinflated. The cost of everything is way higher than it needs to be. It's done way less efficiently than it needs to be done so that they can continue to make more money, right? This is something that is very well known in the construction industry, for instance. If you have a government contract, well, it's in your best interest that shit takes longer than it needs to. Why? Because the government is incredibly inefficient. And you can just get away with stealing money from the government, stealing money from taxpayers by taking longer than you need to so you can pay your guys more and so that you can make more money. And so they do the same thing everywhere, right? I mean, if I remember correctly, the Pentagon has failed like 8 audits. We have a ridiculous amount of money that is just disappearing into thin air once it goes into the defense industry. And so, yeah, and now it's turning around to bite us in the ass. Beautiful.
certainly be a prize for Putin, said Alexandra Prokopenko, a former advisor to the Russian Central Bank and a fellow at the Carnegie Russia Eurasia Center. The journal's editorial board, however, urges the U.S. to continue the war, ignore oil prices. But just a day after oil reached $100 a barrel, and it would reach as much as $120 per barrel, Trump seemed to be looking for a way out. Speaking to Republican lawmakers at his golf club in Florida, Trump repeatedly emphasized that it was a short affair.
We took a little excursion because we felt we had to do that to get rid of some evil. And I think you'll see it's going to be a short term.
Yeah. Clearly, the American government is very concerned about getting rid of evil. Just look at how we're dealing with the Jeffrey Epstein situation, right?
Excursion. Short term. Short term.
A far cry from his earlier vow to fight for as much as 5 weeks or longer.
You know, if we didn't do that B-2 attack, Israel would have been wiped out. They would have had a nuclear weapon within 2 weeks after that. They
Really?
were going to attack
Wow.
all of the Middle East and Israel. And if they had a
For
nuclear
the last 30 years, Iran has been 2 weeks away from having nuclear weapons.
weapon, they would have used it on Israel.
Just after this speech, he gave a press briefing where he was asked,
You called it an excursion. You said it would be over soon. Are you thinking this week it will be over?
No,
Are you
but
talking
soon.
about days?
I think soon.
Okay, and with respect
Very
to
soon.
amazingly,
You know, when I was a young boy, my father told me that he was going to take me to Disneyland, take me to Disney World. He started telling me that definitely single digits. I remember the very first time I asked him about it, it was at my grandmother's house in Spanish Town, Jamaica. And I asked him, Dad, when are you going to take me to Disney World? Are you going to take me to Disney World? And he said, yeah, son, I'll take you soon. I'm 31 years old. I've never been to Disney World, guys. So soon doesn't always mean soon. Let's just put it like that.
Trump says the threat from Iran was eliminated days prior.
The big risk on that war has been over for 3 days. We wiped them out in the first 2 days.
On March 9th, the Wall Street Journal reported that some of Trump's advisors urged him to look for an exit plan amid spiking oil prices and concerns that a lengthy conflict could spark political backlash. Though he didn't provide a clear timeline for ending the Iran operation. What's more, after saying on Monday that the war might be over soon, the president added, "We could go further, and we're going to go further."
Yeah.
Trump has hinted in public and told aides in private that he would back the killing of the younger Khamenei if he proves unwilling to cede to U.S. demands, current and former U.S. officials
Right.
said. But some of Trump's advisors...
Guys, what you resist persists, man. What you resist persists. And so this is only going to get worse. I guarantee you. It's only going to get worse.
have encouraged him to just declare victory already. They've also briefed him on public opinion polls showing most Americans oppose the war. Some of Trump's advisors watched with alarm as oil prices shot to over $100 a barrel.
Man, look at
They
that
have also
carnage.
fielded calls about the midterm elections from some nervous...
Look at the state that these people have to live like this now. Could you imagine if your house was... They don't have, like, insurance for this kind of shit, right? Could you imagine if a bomb fell on your house and just destroyed everything and now it's just gone forever? No insurance is going to help you. All the years you spent working to put your home together, participating in your community, all of it just incinerated like that over nothing. Because this other government somewhere else is lying about you being a threat. Think about that.
Republicans, when the price of gas and oil rise, so does everything else. Given affordability was already an issue, this leads to real challenges, said Stephen Moore, an outside economic advisor to Trump. CNN called the current oil crisis the biggest oil disruption in history. In his first public statement following his appointment as the new supreme leader of Iran, Mojtaba Khamenei vowed to keep the Strait of Hormuz closed. I've noticed that Trump and the neoconservative journalists who cheer him on have argued for continuing the war to ensure that Iran won't be able to wield the strait as a weapon against the global economy. We've been held hostage, as they say, and this war will keep that from happening again. But this is obviously implying regime change.
Right.
And the columnists and editorial writers who are perpetuating this fantasy are being dishonest.
Yeah.
This is evident from the National Intelligence Council report, and as has been observed...
You know what this is like? Those neocons that are saying that Iran has been holding the strait hostage, and so we need to do something about them so that they can't do this again. That would be like if we were to... I don't even know what to compare this shit to, man. It's so ridiculous. It's like we attacked them. They're not holding it hostage. oil was going in and out of the Gulf without a problem. You get what I'm saying? It's like we attack them and then we say that they're being terrorists and that they're holding us hostage, but they're only retaliated because we attacked them. If we never attack them, then the Strait of Hormuz would not be closed at all, because guess what? Iran also wants to make money. You know what I mean? Like, it's just such a ridiculous thing. And the fact that there are people who watch Fox News and they eat that shit up, it is insane to me.
Ad nauseum elsewhere, there is no historic precedent for regime change through aerial bombardment. This raises questions about what Israel really gets out of this war, if not regime change. I read a helpful and extremely worrisome article from Joshua Leifer, an analyst and historian at Haaretz. He wrote on March 13th, "Don't fall for the regime change talk. Israel is mowing the lawn in Iran." Kisua Chadeshe in Hebrew. Contrary to the overheated rhetoric of regime change emanating from Netanyahu and his ministers, Israel's military did not embark on this war with the objective of toppling the Islamic Republic. Israeli Air Force strategists know all too well that no modern regime has been overthrown by air power alone.
Yeah.
Israel cannot actually achieve the total victory of which its most delusional propagandists have begun to dream. Instead, Israel seeks to degrade and deter Iran and its military capabilities so that Iran cannot threaten Israel in the future. If striking Iran had previously been imagined as an impossibly risky endeavor, in the span of less than 2 years, it has come to seem to many Israelis as almost mundane, as has the reality of unceasing war.
Wow.
That makes future Israeli strikes in Iran more likely, even after the current fighting ends.
Yeah. God damn. Mowing the lawn, huh? Mowing the lawn. And so, there you have it, folks. An incredibly stupid war. You let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching, and until next time, peace out.